Hey guys, how's it going? For this video, I'm going to be doing something slightly different. I'm going to be answering a question I asked myself while doing some reading on the theatre of ancient Greece. Thrilling stuff. I found out about a playwright named Euripides who lived in the 5th century BC, and his plays were littered with anti-religious symbolism, even having a character claim that clever men invented gods in order to frighten people into behaving morally. Call him the Richard Dawkins of his day. So it got me thinking, we seem to be living in a world where we're becoming increasingly critical of religion, and atheism is slowly becoming the mainstream. So if people were making plays challenging religion back then, and we still have records about these people, was atheism more commonplace in history than we thought? Could it be that maybe, just maybe, the world we know, including the pyramids, was built by ancient atheists? Seriously though, in this video I'm going to try and answer this question and find out if we really are living in the most atheist point in history, or if the ancient world was a lot more of a less religious place than we might think. As always, I'm going to try and do this in a short 7-minute documentary, so if you like this video, please subscribe and let me know in the comments if there are any other topics you would like to see me cover. In order to pick apart this question and draw our conclusion, I'm going to have to define what atheism is and whether those in the past actually fit into that category. Atheism is defined by the absence of belief in deities and gods, and can in some senses be the absolute rejection of all religious belief. Now, I think it would be unfair to claim that famous atheists from history such as Epicurus was anti-religious in the same sense that someone like Richard Dawkins is, as they lack the modern scientific method that the post-Enlightenment world has. So, for the sake of the argument, we must broaden the definition. At the same time, we need to look at how atheism in society is measured in modern studies of demographics. According to the latest Pew Research Centre's global study from 2012, surveying 230 countries, 16% of the population are not affiliated with any religion, with the majority of atheists coming from China. In 2012, the population of the Earth was 7 billion, which means according to the study, there were approximately 1 billion atheists. Now, obviously, looking from those numbers, there are more atheists right now on Earth than there were even people back in, the time of ancient Greece. The population of the world in 500 BC was roughly 150 million, meaning we would need 24 million atheists or non-religious people to match that 16% figure we saw in 2012. I don't know about you, but considering this is before Christianity and Islam were founded, that number is actually looking rather promising. We tend to see atheism as something of a modern phenomenon, starting with the European Enlightenment, but if we go back to before the birth of Christianity, that thread starts to unravel and we see that atheism might have been more popular than we expect. Tim Whitmarsh, a professor in Greek culture, released a book in 2016 battling this idea. The book, aptly named Battling the Gods, argues that disbelief in deities is as old as humankind itself, showing us evidence of this with ancient atheist writings from Xenophanes of Colophon in the 6th century BC, which predates the Second Temple period in Judaism. Even Plato, writing in the 4th century BC, said that his contemporary non-believers were not the first to have that view about gods. Whitmarsh essentially argues that we know so little about ancient atheism because its history is largely unwritten, and has even been written out of history, with his reasoning being that atheism had no unifying or centralised governing authority to record its growth. Whitmarsh is not the only person to write about this either. Will Durant, in the famous 11-volume set of history books, The Story of Civilization, explained in detail that certain pygmy tribes found in Africa were observed to have no discernible cults, rites or traditions. He recorded that there were no totems, no deities, no concepts of the spirit, with their dead being buried without any special ceremony. While I don't believe that finding a select number of tribes without any discernible belief system in Africa is reflective of the entire continent's history, considering the sheer numbers of different tribes that resided there, I think it does set us on the right path. Maybe the answer isn't to be found in Western or European atheism. Maybe in the search of an answer to our question, I'm being too Western-centric. Maybe we should move away from ancient Greece and look eastward. An interesting place in time to examine when investigating atheism in the pre-modern world is North India in the mid to late 1st millennium BC. This period saw a blossoming of religious diversity in the region, with several new religious schools appearing, with the majority falling into what we now know as the Hindu faith. The running theme in these belief systems was the concept of renunciation, where members were expected to sacrifice their worldly and material possessions in pursuit of a higher and spiritual purpose. Some of the other movements to emerge from this period are Buddhism and Jainism, which run along the same theme of sacrificing the material in order to appease a higher authority. All of these emerging belief systems had one running theme: which makes sense because there was another emerging and influential school of faith that grew in popularity at this point, the Carvakas. While the information regarding this movement is sketchy and often comes from people who are in opposition to them, such as Siddhartha, the founder of Buddhism, they are recorded as being a genuinely atheist school which gained a widespread following and became a very popular movement, and is believed to have survived into the Middle Ages, being described as a movement with no God, no samsara, no karma, no duty, no fruits of merit, and no eternal truths. I don't think you can get more atheist than that. As time went on, atheists became more and more persecuted in society, and you'd really find someone who admitted to being a non-believer, as they'd often face death for committing blasphemy, especially as the Abrahamic religions of Christianity and Islam grew. Muslim scholars regularly recognised there were atheist movements and often attacked them, and likewise Islam itself was criticised by atheist scholars. Atheism didn't get an easy ride in Europe either, with the word atheist being mainly used as an insult aimed at people who had controversial opinions for the time, such as Thomas Hobbes. Even the playwright Christopher Marlowe was accused of being an atheist just for claiming he didn't need to be in church to worship Christ. It wasn't until the Enlightenment period we began to see atheism grow in popularity again, with writers such as Voltaire openly criticising the close relationship between the state and church, which ultimately came to play in France with the French Revolution curtailing the power of religion in the country. From then on, atheism returned to the mainstream with an outpouring of academics confidently criticising the religion's role in society, and even seeing the first openly atheist MP sitting in British Parliament. Revolutionary thinkers wrote at length about atheism, such as Karl Marx, Friedrich Nietzsche, but it wasn't until the early 20th century we saw truly atheist states, with France getting the ball rolling and communist and fascist regimes choosing to embed atheism as a crucial part of their mantra. But much like in countries with mandated religion, there was probably most likely those that kept their faith. The truth is, we may never know if there was a more atheist point in history than today. Any record of atheism or atheist practice would have been destroyed by the religious authority in the area, and atheist practice was heavily discouraged. Throughout history, those who have openly criticised religion have found persecution, such as Socrates being executed for not recognising the gods, or Anaximander who tried to explain that thunder and lightning had nothing to do with gods, or even Galileo, many hundred years later, is placed under house arrest for discovering the earth rotated around the sun. There's no absolute hard data to say one way or another, as the sources left behind are heavily skewed towards the religious, and most records of atheist movements or religious criticism would have been destroyed. There could have been several hundreds of secret atheists in these societies, unable to write, unable to leave records, and scared of prosecution for voicing their opinions. It seems like we may never know, although I think it's safe to say that atheism was more popular in history than we may have initially thought, especially so in India during the 5th century BC, where a healthy debate was being had among those who championed the existence of the metaphysical and divine, and those who believed in the empirical and the material. Thanks for watching guys, really appreciate it. If you enjoyed my video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel, where I'll be making more content like this. Looking forward to seeing you again next time.